The biggest reason, I think, for me is that the state needs to change and the leadership of the state needs to change. And from the perspective of a proud Chinese American, Asian American, I think that with my parents coming here with almost nothing but work ethic and the belief in strong family, the belief in hard work, education, I mean, much like any other immigrant population who comes here for the opportunity, I think that's a lot of what's driving me. I will be the first Asian American ever, if I am fortunate enough to be elected into this position, I will be the first ever Asian American in the Illinois legislature. So State House or Senate, any statewide position. So I'm very proud of that, and I think that after 200 some years, plus years, in the state of Illinois, that we haven't had a Filipino, Indian, Korean, Japanese, Chinese representative before, or even Assyrian or Thai. I think we're on a good path, not just for Asian Americans, but for the state of Illinois. To say that that we have had our first Asian representative ever in the state of Illinois, I certainly believe I'll be proud of that, and I hear from a lot of the people in my district that that will be something that is significant, is historic. So my want is to try to make a difference. My want is to really bring fiscal responsibility back to the state. The idea that we need to live within the budget. The idea that there is a very, very limited amount of dollars or money coming in through tax revenue, and that like every other family, whether it's Chinatown or whether it's here in the 17th District in Glenview and Northfield, Wilmette, Winnetka, Niles, Skokie, Evanston, Morton Grove, and Gulf. Those are the areas here. Every single family in every single one of those communities has had to live within their budgets. And I think most of the people that I talk to, and I've visited 500 some houses last week, just knocking and walking door to door. And what I hear back is that people are shocked that the state and the people who run the state really haven't figured out a way to live within their budget, just like every other household in this district and everywhere else in the state, every other household and family has had to do. So. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm working for.
Okay, so how do you plan to make yourself known to the Chinese community and other communities?
It's like anything else, I think. I think that if you're Italian American or of Mexican or Hispanic descent or of Jewish descent, there's a natural gravitation of interest. But I think for any candidate to be a respectable candidate, they have to prove themselves. So my background as a University of Michigan grad, as a University of Chicago MBA, a successful business person working with not-for-profits for the last 10 years of my career, working with all those not-for-profits and understanding how the business works and running businesses with a profit and loss and employees. I think those are all good experiences that I bring to a time in the state's history where finance and the budget is really the critical issue. Because if we are going to spend more money than we have each and every year, and it's been going on for a good number of years, if we continue down the path that we've continued down, there will be very, very difficult times for the state. And that's the bottom line. Whether we're talking about the, castle in Chinatown, or we're talking about any of the not-for-profits in this district here, the senior living centers, the hospitals, the doctors and the medical providers, and all the special education teachers who aren't being paid. And so I think if we don't clean up the budget and we don't clean up the finances, then there will be so much more difficulties with respect to the budget and providing all those services that I believe are critical to a modern civilized society.
Okay, so the financial responsibility is your first priority.
It has to be, and it's jobs. And when I talk about jobs, I'm talking about the more jobs we have, the more workers we have, and the more taxpayers we have. So the more taxpayers we have, the more revenue that we have. That's a win-win for everybody. The people in the state, whether if you believe that the unemployment rate is 9.5%, or if you think it's higher because people have just stopped looking, could be 11.5% or 12%, whatever it might be. The bottom line is, I think human beings, the spirit of the human being is that you want to work, you want to be productive. And if there aren't enough jobs in the state of Illinois because of the permitting process, because it's just too complicated and there's too much bureaucracy for things like permitting. There's too much bureaucracy with respect to establishing new businesses in the state of Illinois. It's a disincentive. And with the budget crisis and the irresponsibility of the pension and the irresponsibility of what's been going on with the finances, excuse me, not just the budget and just the financing of the services here. I've been telling people, if you are a worker looking for a new job and you have the choice of going to a company where you have heard that the management is maybe corrupt, you have a management that's known to be very inefficient, you have a corporation that's rumored and by every sort of measure looks like it could go bankrupt very soon, versus going to a very close competitor, another state like Indiana or Wisconsin, for example, where you know that the entity is not going to go bankrupt, where you have heard that there's not as much corruption, and you have heard that there's not as much inefficiency. Where would you go as an employee deciding on a corporation, going to decide on a company that you're going to work for? It's the same for a business owner. If I'm going to expand, whether it's Caterpillar, who decided to stay, Uline, who decided to leave the state, those are the decisions that they're making. Why do they need to wait 2 years for a business permit? What is the reason for that? I think if you were to ask the average taxpayer, average voter, they would say that waiting 2 or 3 years to have a decision of whether or not you can expand your business is probably a big part of the reason why people aren't deciding to come here. We need businesses to stay, we need businesses to grow here, and we need businesses to decide to come here. And those are, I think that's my prime goal, is to try to build more jobs and therefore more taxpayers and therefore more tax revenue to provide all the social services that we need.